Hi, Alex. Welcome to Movie Junk. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Before we begin, I can't say how much of an honor it is to have you on today. If you told the 4-year-old version of myself that one day I'd be talking Chucky with Alex Vincent, I'd say you're crazy. I'm gonna do my best to keep my inner child from coming out today.
Thank you. I appreciate that, dude.
Awesome. And so Alex, again, thank you for joining. And we've seen you obviously in Child's Play 1, Child's Play 2, the Curse of Chucky, and also the Cult of Chucky, and now the highly fresh Chucky series. Would you ever imagine, playing that role back in 1988, that the show would be just as fresh and Chucky as well?
Of course not. I mean, that never entered my mind then at all. The first one was successful, and at that age, being a part of it was thrilling. So I knew I was part of something important. When I got the sequel and I had first billing in it, and I was in every scene, and it was filmed at the back lot of Universal Studios. I knew very much that it was something important, and I was thrilled to be a part of it. But no, of course, I never would have predicted that I'd be playing the same character at 41 that I did at 6.
How do you even prepare at 6 to be a lead role? Obviously, in a film, a top box office film when it first came out. How do you even prepare at 6 years old?
Well, I had a really good acting coach, which was certainly helpful. Margaret was invaluable to Andy's performance. But I guess like actors would at any age. I read the script a bunch of times until I had it memorized. I spoke with the director. I spoke with the other actors. Especially my acting coach, my mother, took pieces of everybody that was there to help me be, you know, the best Andy Barclay that I could be. So it was a team effort, really.
And obviously, I mean, the first film was a tremendous success, so there was obviously an urgency to make the second film. Now that you starred in obviously the first Chucky film, was there any added pressure in reprising the role, or were you just excited to be back?
I would say there was definitely added pressure. I don't really think that I felt much pressure at all in the first one. The first one, I was really young, and it was just so exciting to be there. And I had never seen really, other than, a commercial or two, I hadn't really seen myself ever on TV. I didn't know what this film was going to look like while we were filming it. So after it was an experience that I got to experience as an audience member, and getting, a certain amount of praise from it, or attention at least. Yeah, it definitely added pressure. And knowing that I was in almost every scene added pressure. Yeah, it definitely did. But it was still fun. I was still 8 years old filming a movie on, a set that was adjacent to the Back to the Future set. So for me it was still always more fun than anything else. But yeah, I would say with each revisitation of this character, the pressure seems to be a little heavier and heavier for me.
Yeah, I think the biggest, most nostalgia moment for me was when we see you and Kyle together in the show. Because I mean, Child's Play 2 is highly regarded as like the most popular of the Child's Play films, and to see you two reunite, it's like you guys definitely, like didn't even skip a beat. What was it like reuniting there? That was amazing.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I mean, we certainly enjoyed doing it. We enjoy the fans' reaction to it. Christine and I are very, very close. We have been for a long time. Not since I was 7. There was a gap there when I was a child and she wasn't, and staying friends maybe would have been inappropriate. But
Yeah.
yeah, over the last 10, now maybe 12 years, Christine and I really do kind of live like foster brother and sister. We're very protective of each other. We're very dear friends. We talk almost every day. We've been to a lot of appearances together in cities, and we've been through a lot as not only people who have this been attached to our lives for as long as I can remember, and certainly for a giant chunk of her life, um, but also just as people who really love each other outside of this show.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely see the chemistry even after all these years. I know for me, because I mean, as a fan, we felt attached to Andy and obviously the Kyle character. A part of me was happy to not see Andy in Bride of Chucky, because I finally felt like this character was going to get some peace, or was living some peace. And also, too, it's really hard in a horror franchise to be in 4 films and not get killed. So part of me was happy to potentially not see Andy, but we also got the appearance of another legend, Jennifer Tilly, who's also in the Chucky series, and obviously, excited to see. And the way that the series ended, obviously, we see Tiffany pop up and holds you at gunpoint. What's it like working with Jennifer Tilly?
Working around Jen, working around her and being friends of hers and being in her life and being in the same city on a project together and going out to dinner and spending time to each other with each other, and it's incredibly rewarding just from a friendship standpoint. She's a very generous friend, and I don't mean, just by paying the dinner bill, which she usually does, but just as just a very giving person, honest, open, compassionate, caring person who, yeah, it's a thrill to have her in my life as a friend. As far as working together, Andy and Tiffany have been pretty much like character adjacent at best. They've sort of interacted. They had a phone call together in Cult of Chucky. I almost ran her off the road and gave her the middle finger, and she tried to blow me up in season 1. But we haven't actually spent much time in front of the camera together, really, at all yet, if ever. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
But
hopefully.
in doll form, we did get that moment at the end of season 1, which was, yeah, incredibly fun to do. Uh, I've rooted for Jennifer Tilly and Don, of course, all through Bride and Seed. And I always thought the Tiffany doll was really cool, and I was hoping that Andy would get an opportunity to interact with it someday.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an amazing fan service. And we'll see in season 2 if we actually get to see your character and Jennifer Tilly interact, and also seeing more of Tiffany as well too. Now I know with Bride of Chucky, I'm really having a hard time believing that in between Bride of Chucky and Seed, just the way that Andy was so prepared at the end of Curse, that they never interacted. Do you think that there was a possibility that Chucky and Andy interacted, and that's what kept Andy kind of on red alert, or do you think it was just from drama from the past?
Yeah, I think Chucky's embedded in Andy's brain one way or another, in his fears and his memories. Um, and yeah, the trauma of that experience sticks with, much as all trauma usually does, it sticks with someone. So whether there was a gap from Andy's time in military school until, you know, living above a gun store, uh, I think Chucky was always with him, and I don't think Andy can really escape it, whether he wants to or not.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a reward in Cult of Chucky, because in Child's Play 3, the Andy character was still a teenager, right? He was much more stronger, but he was a man in Cult of Chucky, and also had gone through some training. So it was something of a reward, especially that scene where you smash Chucky's head with your feet and pull out that gun. That was really, really rewarding to see. And how does it feel now to be able to kind of flip the script? You're not running away from Chucky, you're now hunting Chucky. What does that feel like?
A little gratifying, a little validating to the character that I people always have asked me my whole life if I was afraid of Chucky, which obviously I wasn't. It wasn't real when you're there. But I do feel like Andy has carried that fear with him his whole life, and maybe now he's in a position of turning the table, so to speak. I mean, he had 4 years to kind of inflict a little bit of at least psychological damage, if not physical anguish, to the doll. And I think those 4 years certainly strengthened his relationship, maybe a position of dominance over Chucky a little bit. But I think I think Andy's still very much afraid of Chucky. He's just he's got a position of power that evens the score a little bit. Chucky's never taken Andy's life thus far, and Andy's taken several of his at this point. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's very cool to play with the dynamic between these two characters.
And the legend himself, Don Mancini, who's been a part of the Chucky franchise since the beginning, right? I mean, he's helmed it since the first Chucky. And what's it like now? Because I mean, you worked with him when you were a kid, and obviously, after all these years, and that's 34 years now, right?
Yeah.
How's he any different? What's it like working with him? Love to hear about the legend himself.
I mean, he's really not all that different. I mean, as I've gotten older, I've learned to appreciate exactly how much work he puts into all of this.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I was 7, he was 24, something, or 26. And I've told this many times, but we connected right away. He took me out to see Back to the Future 2 in his blue Alfa Romeo, and I thought he was the coolest guy in the world. He was a writer, which I was already very impressed with. I still am. So yeah, I always kind of looked up to him my whole life. So over the last 15 years, whatever it's been, 12 years, 13 years, that we were able to connect as two adults to various degrees. I think he was pleasantly surprised with the person I became at some level, because I guess it could have gone either way. And I was just as excited to find him just as cool as I remember him as a kid.
Yeah.
And now we've had over a decade of working together, and friendship, and talking, and creative parallels, and a little bit of collaboration here and there on this and that. And yeah, it's a thrill. I mean, I love that guy more than most people in this world. So
Yeah, I mean, we had the privilege of interviewing Rochelle Cassius and also Annie Briggs from season one, and yeah, nothing but just wonderful things. Obviously, working with Don Mancini, and also too, I mean, Andy just as good as anybody. I mean, if not maybe more than Don Mancini. Are you given any artistic liberties with this character? Are you able to ad lib at all, or give any opinions on what you think Andy would say or do?
definitely, definitely. I mean, Don knows me as a not just an actor or this character, but he knows me as a creative person in general. I've shared a lot of my writing with him in general, and just kind of a bit of my artistic self outside of just portraying a character. And I think he appreciates what I bring to the table. We joke around, that I rewrite a lot of his lines, and he gives me shit when he can, but it's all out of love. And Don is accepting of anyone's opinion who he knows cares about this thing and just wants to make it better. He doesn't. There are times where he would say, no, this is how it is, and this is what I want, and I'll always agree with him. If I didn't get there right away, he'll show me why, and I'll get it. But there are things that I notice, or that ideas that I have, or things that I like would think would be fun, and I run it by him, and I'd say definitely more times than not he agrees, and we run with it. But every now and then he says, no, that doesn't work because of this, and I certainly don't. I agree with that. I'm only trying to make things better. But yeah, there were a lot of concepts, dialogue, scenes, action ideas that came from me. Sure.
Yeah, I think it would be a dream to one day see a Don Mancini directed film with you starring, and also Brad Dourif in human form, and just seeing you guys work together on another project where it's him outside of the doll. I think that would be an epic project to see one day.
That would be a really fun thing to do.
And just speaking of Brad Dourif, there's no way I can't, let you sneak out of here without a Brad Dourif question. I mean, what's it
Sure.
like working with him after all these years? Again, like from what I've heard, a lot of it's where you guys are performing, and he sort of does the voice of Chucky, sort of like after you guys shoot your scenes. But what's that element like, and what's it like, keeping in touch with him after all these years?
Well, luckily, in most cases, Brad actually records his audio first, and then
Oh,
they move the doll around the audio that's on playback on set, which I've said is very, very helpful for me. I mean, Some of our puppeteers, one of them in particularly, does a pretty good Chucky impression. So if they're changing the line on the fly or we don't have the audio recording, they fill in. But yeah, I mean, reacting to something inanimate is a challenge that all actors have one way or another, but it's very, very much a part of working with the doll. So having his voice there to react to has always been very, very helpful for me. I admire him incredibly as an actor from so many of his projects. And yeah, we do a lot of appearances together. We don't get to spend much time on set together, and we never really did through any of this. So I'm very thankful for the conventions and for the opportunities that I get to be me hanging out with Brad, as opposed to me in Andy's state of mind,
Yeah.
playing with Brad's other self.
Yeah, and Fiona Dourif as well too has done such an amazing job. I love the ability that Don Mancini's done. I think back since Curse, where we're kind of going back in time, going into the current time, and now we're seeing Fiona Dourif play basically the younger version of her dad from the '88 film. And I was just totally convinced. At first, I didn't know that was her. I thought it was just a great
Sure.
person that was cast, and I had no idea that was her until I actually found out at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
But amazing job, and being able to pass the torch. And it's just it's so sad what her character is going through. Again, this is a horror genre, but I'm just
It
hoping
is. It
it's
is. We have to remind ourselves of that sometimes. Horrible things happen in horror films. Um, Fiona, you know, there's few people that have grown up their entire lives with Chucky so kind of intertwined in themselves. I mean, obviously, Chucky's a character and Brad's her real father, and Chucky's not real in my life either. But Chucky's been a part of her awareness in this world since she was very, very young. Her and I are the exact same age. We grew up with Chucky being a big part of our lives. She's an absolute phenomenal actress and a good friend and someone that I always feel like I learned something about the craft of acting just from any time that I get spending time with her talking about it. The same goes for Brad. I know that they're both just very, very respectful and considerate of acting as an art form, and I relate to that. But I'm even more so just very, very impressed by it. So I always root for her, and she always delivers. She's one of the best actors out there. So
Yeah, I mean she's amazing. I'm really rooting that we get some justice for her character. It was really gruesome what happened at the end of season one, but we see her pretty active in the trailers, and I think she hopefully can make some sort of vengeance or retribution to her character. Now it's exciting. I mean, with a 91% still on Rotten Tomatoes, we have season two coming out October 5th on USA and Syfy. And we're also getting a little bit of a Comic-Con with the cast right in New York on October 7th.
yes, yeah, there's going to be a panel. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to consist of, but there will be a panel there. I'll be at New York Comic Con all weekend anyway, at a vendor table signing autographs and taking pictures and stuff. But there will be a panel there. We're doing another one out in at Son of Monster Palooza in LA on October 14th or something like that. So yeah, I mean, promoting the show is obviously part of the job, but for us who really are a family that don't get all that much time with each other, these opportunities to do promotion all together, or even pieces of us together, that's always fun for us and exciting for the fans for pretty legit reasons, but also for us, because we're all very, very proud of this and proud of each other.
Yeah, I mean, I can only think of one other show, and that's Cobra Kai, right? Where something 35, 40 years later is just as fresh, if not fresher, And we're getting the original cast and also the new cast who's just doing such a wonderful job. I'm really excited for season two. It's literally just a few days away, and I'm aching to see the first episode. But fans can also you're also available on Cameo as well too, right? If fans want to reach out to you for a personalized Andy message, they can also
Sure.
Cameo.
Yeah, I have Cameo. I offer a similar thing through my website. I'm on Instagram a lot. I do Instagram lives. I have a Patreon account that I do sit downs with everyone and Zoom meetings and some behind the scenes footage and content and some other creative avenues that I travel down that I don't always put out for everybody. I put up through there. But yeah, I'm one of the more accessible people in my position to their fan base. I'm incredibly appreciative for them. I myself am a big fan of so many things that I know what it's like from both sides of that table, and simply just doing from doing conventions for 20 years and knowing so many of our incredible fan base. I try to stay accessible on there. But yeah, the link in my bio on Instagram will get you to all my cool stuff, including my recording studio down in Clearwater, Florida.
Definitely. We're going to be sure to share that with the fans as well. And since you kind of touched on it as well, sort of the fan side, and you always like asking, our guests, right? The actors, what are you guys binge watching whenever you guys are not working? What are some of your top shows that you're watching, or what was the last movie that you watched?
Well, the last thing that I've been binge watched was Ryan Murphy's Dahmer on Netflix, which I guess everybody's watching right now. I got through the 10 episodes pretty quick over like 2 days. Um, yeah, just fantastic acting. I enjoy so much of Ryan Murphy's storytelling. Was a big fan of American Horror Story. I've seen all those, of course. And yeah, that's what I just recently finished, all 10 episodes of that. Evan Peters, Richard Jenkins were both just
Amazing.
spectacular. So yeah, that's the most recent thing I watched. I try to stay up to date with the cool stuff that's out there. I catch a good amount of it.
Excellent. Yeah, I literally just wrapped episode 10 yesterday, and I not to spoil anything, but there was a nice little teaser in episode 10 on another serial killer, and I automatically was like, we need to get 10 episodes of this.
Yeah.
So
Well, it was, it's they're really great at intertwining different parts of, multiple universes that clash. And yeah, and Dahmer, I'm around that age where I grew up where that was a major, major thing when I was, in my early teens. And from like he got arrested when I was 10. But yeah, he's been around for forever in the culture of horror meets reality. And yeah, it's cool when they get to bring in little pieces of other, you know, similar evil villains in this world, actual villains. Yeah.
yeah, no, definitely. I don't know if it's a show that I can rewatch right away. I might need to digest it a little bit, but it was
Yeah.
so well written. And again, everything Ryan Murphy touches is just awesome. And yeah, it was really you just had to keep watching each and every episode, but I might have to take a break before rewatching it again.
Well, we barely rewatch anything these days anyway.
Yeah.
It's not like when I was younger and you'd watch a new movie comes out, you love it, you watch it 7 times. There's just so much content now that like to watch anything more than once is asking a lot of anyone, even when you really, really love it. But yeah, it was a chilling and uncomfortable couple days to watch that much Dahmer in a short period of time. But yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, speaking of rewatching, I remember being a kid, I was literally about a couple hundred feet away from the rental video store, the video rental store, and the two movies I'd always rent is Child's Play 1, Child's Play 2, and Coming to America. And
I
each
rented Coming to America many times as a kid also. I sure did. Love that movie. But how many times did you watch the second one?
of Coming to America 2,
Yeah.
less than 10, less than 10.
That's still a lot, though. That's a lot.
Yeah,
I
less
thought
than
you could say, I thought I was going to get you there, and you're like, oh, yeah, I only watched it once. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to rewatch it a second time right away just because I was kind of just mesmerized by seeing all these characters return and just
Yeah.
even able to digest it. So yeah, I quickly watched it 2, 3 times, and then just since it's come out every few months, I'll kind of watch it again. And
Back to it.
it's
Cool.
on Amazon Prime. But
Yeah.
and for it wasn't as good as the first.
No, but who expected it to be? No one expected it to be as good as the first. It was fun though. I thought it was a lot of fan service, like you said. You know, um, that was the type of movie that a lot of people wanted more of for a long time. So I was
Yeah.
happy they did it. I had fun with it.
Yeah, and the visuals and the cinematography was just
Yeah,
amazing.
really impressive. Yeah.
Excellent. And Alex, I want to be respectful of your time. I also want to save some room for round two. Definitely once the show comes out, where we can talk a little more spoilers. But I can't thank you enough for joining today. And again, like I said, if you told the inner kid in me that we'd be talking, 30 or so years later, I'd say you're crazy. But can't thank you enough for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much, and I hope you really enjoy season two.
We're excited, and we'll see it soon. Thank you very
Say,
much.
say a prayer for Andy.
Oh, oh, please don't say that.
Thanks, dude.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, buddy.
Bye bye.